Through this, we'll talk about what's going on based on experience with the innovation government reform technology team in the transition. And Darlene's already explained where I'm coming from. I'm no longer the head of McConnell International. I did sell that company, so for those of you who keep the score on that. I wanted to talk today about the President's Open Government Vision, how that got articulated into a set of 3 open government memoranda, talk a little bit about the staffing situation, who's on first in terms of implementation of this inside the administration, and then talk briefly about some of the policy challenges which were featured today, I understand, on CNN. So there is hope, though. So just to start, I'm going to use 2 minutes of my time to bring you back, I guess it's now about a month and a half.
The world has changed, and we must change with it. As we consider the road that unfolds before us, we remember with humble gratitude those brave Americans who, at this very hour, control far-off deserts and distant mountains. They have something to tell us. Just as the fallen heroes who lie in Arlington whisper through the ages. We honor them not only because they are the guardians of our liberty, but because they embody the spirit of service. A willingness to find meaning in something greater than themselves. And yet, at this moment, a moment that will define a generation, it is precisely this spirit that must inhabit us all. For as much as government can do and must do, it is ultimately the faith and determination of the American people upon which this nation relies. Our challenges may be new. The instruments with which we meet them may be new. But those values upon which our success depends, these things are old. These things are true. What is required of us now is a new era of responsibility, a recognition on the part of every American that we have duties to ourselves, our nation, and the world. Duties that we do not grudgingly accept, but rather seize gladly. This is the price and the promise of citizenship.
So this is the price and promise then of citizenship, which open government is structured around, that value set. And so if you look at the 3 memoranda that came out on basically day 1, which was a few things that came out that day, some stuff on ethics, a few other things, and this open government troika. It shows the key importance that the administration is taking this. And so the first memorandum was on open government, called Transparency in Open Government, and it basically talks about 3 principles. Transparency, which says provides accountability in the elected officials and in the government in general. Participation, which enhances effectiveness. This is the idea that many are smarter than the one. And finally, the collaboration is a way of engaging people to pick up that bargain between the social contract, if you will, that founds our country. This is high-level principles. There is a directive that the Chief Technology Officers are responsible for, due in May, 120 days from January 21st. In that memo, they will flesh out the principles into specific guidance to the agencies about what to do, and they'll illustrate how those principles and specific guidance are already being implemented through some existing projects, some of which you probably know about already, that are sort of walking the walk to show the proof of concept, if you will, in each of the areas. The agencies are already involved through the MAX collaboration system, which OMB uses, to add their suggestions. So this directive is really being written in collaboration. We're going to in fact, the public will be brought in to the conversation as well to comment on the directive as it's going forward. So it's unusual for a White House directive to be written in this way, but it's certainly appropriate. The other two directives that came out that day, Freedom of Information Act directs the Attorney General to revise the Bush-era guidance, which had a presumption that if an agency withheld information, the Justice Department would defend it. That provision will be changed to there better have been a good reason for you to have withheld the information, and that the Justice Department will defend it if there's a good reason. Then finally, the Presidential Records Memorandum, which also reversed restrictions on access to the records of former presidents. So it's a moving target, but a lot of cornerstones set in place, and then the thing to do is watch for the CTO directive and participate in the creation of it. So who is on first to make these things happen? And still a skeleton crew at the moment. At OMB we have two people who are not fully in place officially. Vivek Kundra, the e-government administrator, aka CIO, has not been officially named, but is busy. And the OR administrator, who does the information policy things, or some pieces of it anyway, Cass Sunstein, who has not been confirmed yet. At the Office of Science and Technology Policy, we expect there to be a Chief Technology Officer, the one that the President has talked about, but that person has not been named yet. And of course, for Freedom of Information Act, obviously Eric Holder, the Attorney General, is in place. So that's the policy team. Policy is great, but as we know, where does the rubber hit the road? And so we do have more going on there. This is just about the political officials, so there's, you all know, a lot is happening. Megan Phillips is running whitehouse.gov, which is the flagship of this new approach. And then the action team, and I've listed some of the key open government agencies there, GSA, NAR, and GPO. We're waiting for the presidential appointees. But obviously, as Bev will talk about in a minute, a lot of stuff is going on in GSA and in the agencies already. The last thing I want to talk about a little bit was the policy challenges, because as you all know, and as is increasingly becoming more explained to the public, there's a lot of policy issues that can slow down the implementation of some of the newer technologies, Web 2.0 technologies. And so one of the things that happened during the transition is that several of us, including council, transition team council, worked with the federal webmasters and others in a group that the National Academy of Public Administration has put together called the Collaboration Project, and had a discussion around best practices dealing with some of these tricky issues, and I've listed them here, ranging from the problem of privacy and persistent cookies, Section 508, and what's the deal if a federal agency uses a free service like YouTube and all those kinds of things. So this collaborationproject.org website, which is the National Academy's website, has a great set of papers that lay out the problem and discussion of the problem and some of the best practices, and even have things like how to get a waiver request forms and stuff. So it's a real resource and a way of understanding how to get through some of these things. Obviously, there may be need for some statutory changes. There's a climate of interest in that on the Hill, although we have a lot of things, other things on their plate, but I expect we'll see some action in that area as well. So I do think it's a great time for Web 2.0 and collaboration. In particular, the economics of it, I think, is what's going to drive it. I've spoken as an old OMB guy, of course, because in fact you can do stuff a lot cheaper and more lightly using some of the new tools and techniques. So with that, I'll close, and hopefully we'll have time for a question or two.